just to pick you up on that communication point, I keep harping on about this because I knew it was important, but I think it's increasing in importance all the time. I think gone are the days where you can be amazing at hacking, put your hoodie up and get a job anywhere. Like clients just aren't interested in that anymore.
No.
But yeah, in terms of what I look for, I still have an 8-point check system that I go through now. So I go through cultural fit. I'll go through obviously skill set, whether it's web app, mobile, cloud, infrastructure, if it's full chain red team work. I know that's something you guys over at Bishop Fox do. I'll look at motivation to move. I'll look at retention fit. So if they have been what we call as recruiters jumpy, then we need to consider that. Also, I look at companies that have been in at the past. I've had clients before where they have certain, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to, but I have clients where they want them from certain companies because they know that they're good. I've even been issued lists before, believe it or not.
Me too.
So that's the mistake, is that communication. Also, one thing I look into as well is, are they actually bought into, are they moving just for a raise, or are they moving because they're actually bought into your mission? Because if they're moving just for a raise, this time next year when someone else offers them another bump on their salary, they're probably just going to leave again. And long term, that doesn't bode well for, say, my client or you. And long term, it doesn't look good for me either. So I looked, why are they actually moving? And then the last thing I look, which you mentioned again as well, is just that passion. What are they doing outside of work? Because if they're up there with the best this year, but they're chilling out of hours, this time next year, with how quick the industry moves, they're probably not going to be the best. So they're the main kind of eight things I look at. What do you think the best ways are? If you're listening to this now and you're thinking, great, hear what Kaitlin's saying, but my communication skills are rubbish and I just don't know how to improve them, what tips would you have for the listeners?
Yeah, I think this one is definitely challenging. I think there's something to be said about brute forcing it a little bit. So it might not be your favorite part of the day, but I think challenging yourselves. If you always order delivery, maybe go to the restaurant and pick it up and talk to the person who's taking your order, preparing your food, just small talk. But I think pushing yourself a little bit out of your bubble to maybe interact with people, even getting out there and going to like a DEF CON or a 2600 group, or maybe you're talking to people who love the same things you do, but you're going out to those groups, you're engaging in those conversations. I think you're probably not going to get better at your verbal communication skills if you are like all your communication is happening through like a subreddit or like a Discord server. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think just to pick up on your last point, it's like if you're never doing it, if I don't know, say you were amazing at, I don't know, say you're awesome at web apps, but like you just never did one for years, you'd probably find when you went back to it, it'd be pretty rubbish. And I think if you're not doing something on a regular basis, you tend not to be very good at it. And I think if I used a phrase on a post this week, but it's just getting comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that is when we're growing. But I think it's like anything, just not being scared of failure. I think I mentioned to you off air, I'm sure he won't mind me mentioning, but Tim, the CEO of Red Series, he did an hour. I mentioned to you last week, he did an hour presentation, and for everyone listening, and he said this on the pod too, won't mind me saying it, he finished it in 15 minutes because he was so nervous. He rushed it so much. He said it was absolutely awful. And I've had him on the pod a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Tim's communication skills are great now. Like you'd think he is. He does loads of stuff in the community. He does something called Offensive Wednesdays to help everyone's career progression. He's always online. So he's a pro now, but he didn't start off like that. In his own words, he was miles off where he needed to be. So I think it's just like anything. You've got to start somewhere. I sometimes think when I say something like public speaking on stage, people probably think, oh, God, but I couldn't. I think, like you said, it might be walking down to the restaurant. It might be just having a conversation with someone. Just start somewhere. It might even be doing a post on LinkedIn. Yeah. I don't mean a video. I don't mean it might just be writing an actual post, because, and I know we talked about this before, when I first did my post, I was so worried about what people, and I think I said to you before, some people were a bit negative about my stuff at first, and now no one says anything. But I think you've just got to start, haven't you?
I think so too. And that's the hardest part. And I feel I'm extroverted. It comes naturally to me. I think so. I feel a little bit It's if somebody super technical was like, "You just do it, Kaitlin." I'd be like, "It's really hard. Like, I'm
Code it. Just
trying."
code it.
Yeah, and that's where I think there's awesome mentorship programs out there. A lot of companies have them. A lot of organizations have mentorship programs. So it's like maybe you start by working with a mentor and you're working one-on-one with someone and you're engaging in small conversations and maybe they have different ideas than we do and there's a little bit of accountability because you have a mentor. I think that with communication in particular, you're going to need to rely on the people around you in the community and find people who draw you out and make you want to speak. And what is it that gets you there?
Yeah, no, like I say, it's an absolutely vital part of the job. Unless you're going to do bug bounty on a freelance basis
Yeah.
all day, every day. If you want to be a professional pen tester that's really good, that communication piece has got to be addressed. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, you're giving it, yeah, Kevin.
And find you a recruiter who makes you come out of your shell. I think that there's a lot of different recruiters out there. I think especially if you have a chance to choose who you're working with, like an agency, work with somebody who you want to have that conversation with because they help draw you out. That's part of my job is you might be nervous. I'm expecting you to be nervous. You might be really nervous. There's might be a lot of things going on. And like my job as the recruiter is to be able to get the information we both need. And that might mean I rephrase the questions 5 different times. That might mean I scale it back and we start with some softballs and then we ramp up from there. And I think that, if interviewing is really scary, maybe thinking about the partners you're working with and trying to work with people who help bring out the things that are really good and then talk to them as you prepare to go into the next interviews and get some feedback and get some pointers. And I think recruiters are people and they want to help and they want to share what they love with you. Don't be afraid to take them up on it.
Yeah, we love talking. Just ring me and Kaitlin.
I do. My pride and joy is when I'm working with somebody who maybe isn't super easy technically commuting or they're nervous. I get to put them at ease. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, they have so many skills and such great knowledge and so much to share. And I'm glad that I can help set the stage so they can bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, definitely. And by the way, for anyone listening, if you're not nervous before an interview, if someone says to me they're not nervous for an interview, I'm concerned. You should, if you're nervous, that's good. Like you should be.
If you're not nervous, you're probably interviewing for the wrong job because
Exactly. Yeah.
you're not invested.